have a wonderful, wonderful guest with us here today. This is Gina Caldwell. Among her many, many talents and the wonderful things that she does for patients in her community, she is a sonographer and a mammogram technologist. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Gina.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm excited. Thank you for asking.
Wonderful. So we can just start with you just telling us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm almost 58 years old, and I have been doing MAMS for about 17 years now and breast sonography. I have 2 adult children. In March, it'll be 33 years since my breast cancer diagnosis. Just married, live in Kentucky.
Wonderful, wonderful, awesome. And then, so you were born and raised in Kentucky?
Yes. Yeah.
Great.
Born and raised in Lexington. Yes.
In Lexington, great, great. And then, so, I mean, obviously Kentucky is an absolute wonderful place. I actually used to live there myself for actually 10 years of my life. And I miss it so much, especially during the fall. I have so much nostalgia for the fall in Kentucky, for sure.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yes.
Yeah. And it's pretty cold there right now, right? Didn't you guys have a winter storm not too long ago?
It is so very cold here right now. That's the turtleneck. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, you look absolutely fabulous, Gina. Seriously.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, what kind of inspired you to go into your profession?
Well, honestly, I mean, people would think, well, if you had breast cancer when you were 25, that would have been a motivation. And honestly, I'm sort of embarrassed to say I never thought about that. I was the mother of 2 kids that I pretty much stayed home and raised. And I had a friend that did radiology, and I thought, well, that's something cool. I can go and go back to school, get a degree in that, and then maybe work a couple of, hours on the weekends and nights and just be something extra. And God sort of thought something different, I think. And not that I was ever going to be the best mammographer or best breast sonographer, but doors absolutely opened up for me that I did not even see that were there to open. And it was such a blessing. I absolutely feel like it's my passion in life. And so that little 2 or 3 hour a week job, I just went full time into MAMS and just feel so blessed to be able, if nothing else, to look at someone who's scared and go, you know what, I was exactly where you are 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And because I know when I was diagnosed, the very first person that I met that said, oh, I think you're going to be fine. I had that 20 years ago, and it was a revelation in my life. I will never forget that person. She was phenomenal, and she didn't realize it. She changed my whole world with that one sentence because back in 1989, we didn't have the wealth of we didn't have the internet like we do now. I remember when I was diagnosed, calling the American Cancer Society and running to a local office to get resources. I had nothing. I had no information, no family to turn to, and the information, you really had to go out and seek it at like I said, at the American Cancer Society. So it's so. I know how important it was for me to go, you know what, this isn't necessarily a death sentence. That's because back in 1989, I sort of thought that, you thought somebody has cancer, and it wasn't a matter of, oh my golly, is this going to kill me? It was like, how much do I have before this kills me? So to hear somebody say, you know what, I've been there, and I'm going to be here, and you're going to get through it, and you're going to tell somebody that someday, was just a life-changing moment.
Wow, that's absolutely wonderful. And Gina, for our audience who's primarily non-medical, could you describe kind of what you do in your job and what a typical day is like for you?
Yeah. So, I always tell people, especially people that come in for a very first mammogram, I say, mammography it's just a mammogram's the weirdest kind of test that you'll have done probably. I feel like I always joke I'm 50% cheerleader, 50% mammographer, because I feel it's my job to educate each patient. It's very important that we get as much compression as possible because we want to do the best job possible for you. I'm not doing you any favors if I, don't do the best of my ability. And unfortunately, that means the most adequate, tolerable compression that the patient can stand. So I truly feel that it's my responsibility to educate them, because when people know, you know what, this is only going to last for a second, and it really, truly can make the biggest difference in what the radiologist sees on the film.
Right, definitely, definitely. And I remember, we used to obviously work together a lot while I was still in my training. And obviously, your images, everything that you do, Gina, was always obviously top notch, excellent, excellent quality.
Oh,
So I
thank
know
you.
the work that you do is definitely, definitely saving lives. And I know we touched a little bit upon your, past breast cancer diagnosis of your own. What was that like, kind of learning about your diagnosis, and kind of how does that, kind of influence you on your day-to-day treatment of patients today?
Right. Well, I never ever ever see breast cancer as the end of the road for anyone ever. It is a horrible bump in the road that we go over, but it's never the end. And so that, people would say, well, how do you do it all the time and not take it home? And because I have such good faith that uh, medical advancements in breast cancer treatment options, everything has just improved so much that it truly is a treatable cancer. It's just you got to get women in there every year, and you've got to get them in there. To get their screening mammograms and to become the expert of their breast. They're your breast. And I always have people say, well, I wouldn't know if I felt something different. You would know. I truly believe that when you check your breast every month, you will know. And you don't think you would, but you would. When you something, I don't think I remember that before. And we really are. We're the experts on our bodies if we just take the opportunity to be.
Wonderful. That's really, really, really great advice. And do you have any memorable stories from your job?
I have so many fantastic stories. I've worked everywhere from a little tiny hospital all the way up to like one of the larger breast clinics. And we just have phenomenal stories. And, like I said, in my story, when I said somebody, Judah said to me, you are going to be fine. I've been through that. I know what you're going through. I've actually had people send me Christmas cards, or I've had people see me out and they would go to their husband, this is the Mamtech I was telling you about. And oh my gosh, there's nothing more rewarding than that. And just being able to pass on hope, because when you have hope, then you can have peace, because without peace you have nothing. And that's the biggest thing. And like I said, my job is just to encourage women to please come in, please let them techs do as much compression as they feel they need to get the best pictures. And one thing I have learned with I always have an appreciation for how important these tests are, but through all the things going on with the pandemic, we'll have women come in who maybe had to skip in 2020. They weren't comfortable, or they were older and their doctors really needed them initially to stay away just because they didn't know what all this coronavirus was about. But one thing I've noticed is most women so eager to get back in and let's get this screening mammogram done.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that women were, definitely trying to get in, not skipping or anything like that. That's so good to hear.
Yeah, I'm very relieved. Like, oh my gosh, this is just such a load off of me to get this taken care of, and to make sure I'm okay for another year.
That's wonderful. And then Gina, if I may, I do have a really, really sweet story of you when we were working together, from what I heard from my training. And I just want the audience to know again what an angel and a hero Gina is as a sonographer and mammogram technologist working with, potential breast cancer patients. I do know a story of when a few years back, there was a patient that was in her car that actually had a screening mammogram, and they found a spot on her screening mammogram, and they, wanted to bring her in to get, as we know, a diagnostic mammogram to kind of take a closer look at the lesion and see if, it potentially could be cancer. And one of the radiologists told me this story. And so the patient was in her car, and she was just so deathly scared to come in, just because, the fear, and, so she was just waiting in her car. She was just so frozen. She couldn't get out of her car. But of course, you, Gina, you came out to the car. You took time out of your very, very, very busy day, very, very, very busy schedule, taking care of potential breast cancer patients and breast cancer patients, to sit and talk with her. And the reason she actually even got her mammogram was because you went out there, you sat and talked to her, and you actually convinced her to come in. And it was because, not only because you're so sweet, you're so kind, you're just so easy to talk to, so welcoming, you told her about your history of having, your own battle with breast cancer, and how you did well, and that, you went and got your mammograms, and, kind of went and got medical care and attention. And that's what finally brought her in. I do remember it took a little bit of time for you, of course, to convince her.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that story.
Yeah, of course. That's one of the stories that I distinctly remember, that, you were just, again, I just knew that I had to speak to you and share with the audience your story, because it's just an example of, how much you really, really touched upon a patient's life, that she was actually able to come in and further her care and everything like that. And all it was that you took your time out to come and talk to her and convince her that, even if, the worst case scenario happened, that it would still be okay. So again, I can't thank you enough, Gina. You're an absolute angel for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And I know. And so you said that you're coming upon retirement. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I can't even believe that, Gina. I feel like everyone's retiring really early these days. Like, you're too young to retire, but you definitely deserve it though.
Oh
Obviously you've done such great things, and worked so hard for so long. So
well, thank you so much. Yeah, I just, I'm not going to give it up completely. I'm still going to do a couple of days a week in the little town that I live in right outside of Lexington, Georgetown. And I'm so grateful, because I don't care if you're in larger towns or smaller towns, women are all the same. And, they all have the same concerns and fears, and I try not to ever forget, even as a radiologist, I know you probably as much as anyone, when we go, oh well, we'll bring them back, just take a little closer look, and we don't really think a lot of it a lot of times, like, oh, it's just another look, but to that patient, that other look is absolutely terrifying.
right.
And we just know it, and we do it so often that we know that the majority of those callbacks are going to be just fine. But when it's you or your sister or your daughter, your mom, it's a little bit different story. And so I try not to ever forget that, it's just so scary, and somebody's their only experience with cancer may have been a grandmother 40 years ago, and it is not the same disease as it was then. So usually when we get people that are absolutely that scared and that terrified, they've got a memory of a relative or something that went through it years and years and years ago, when they didn't have the same options that we do today, when they didn't have the same treatment plans that we do today. So, just half cheerleader, half educator, and just try to be the best person I can.
Right, definitely. And as you're mentioning, you're a half cheerleader too. How do you stay so upbeat when sometimes it can get so tough doing the job that you do?
Thank you for saying that. I don't know if that's true, but I just honestly, when you come in, I try to not make anything heavy. In fact, I used to always, go get patients, and I try to be like, hey, it's your turn. And because sometimes just getting a smile out of somebody can break the tension. And I know when I've gone through, I'm the world's worst patient. I hate to go to have things done. And when I do, and somebody does something to make me laugh or whatever, it just, I don't know, it kind of makes it lighten a little bit. And I know you were in the room many times, and we would be trying to make light of a situation with the patient. And we would always say, we know that it's serious, and we know that this is not, but we're just trying to lighten the mood, because we have got you at this point. You are in good hands at this point, no matter what.
Yeah, definitely. And I know when you're in the room, the patients are in definitely good hands too. Because I know sometimes when we'd have patients that were maybe a little bit more fearful, or maybe needed just a little bit more attention, we'd be like, okay, let's have Gina come and talk to the patient. So,
oh my gosh, you're gonna make me cry. Thank you so much.
Oh no, you're seriously amazing. So, and I know we touched upon this a little bit earlier, Gina. We're approaching 2 years of this pandemic, right? It's still ongoing. And so how has that kind of changed your practice and everything like that?
Initially it was they basically there for a while here. I don't know about where you are, but there for a while, unless it was a diagnostic, you had some kind of issue going on. They weren't taking appointments initially until they really figured out what all of this was going on with coronavirus and what all that entailed. But since that point, like I said before, I think if nothing else, it's really so encouraging that women get it. Women get how important these are. This isn't something you want to set aside for a year or 2 years and we'll get in to get that. I have seen really an urgency in most all of our patients who are like, oh, I'm so glad to finally get in here. Because when we did start taking patients again, of course, we were kind of backlogged there for a while, trying to get everyone in, and just to see people that get it, that know that, what, this can save my life. I'm not gonna put this off any longer than I have to.
Oh, definitely. And then for those people out there who may want to follow in your footsteps, do you have any advice for a career such as yours?
Oh my gosh, this is, I'm, and I joke about retiring and everything. I absolutely love this job. It's crazy. People, and every now and then you'll get somebody go, how do you do this all day? I love that job. I love it. I feel like it's just kind of like a community service in a way. And like I said, not that I'll ever be the best mammographer, the best breast sonographer, but you know what? I can sit there and say to somebody, I was exactly where you are. And I know you're scared and I know you feel boom, 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 but you are going to get through this. And it is the best career, especially if you're in radiology. You should really think about it. It's, with all the practical aspects aside, it's a Monday through Friday job, which is always wonderful when you have children and a husband or a partner. Just absolutely so rewarding, so rewarding. And I have noticed, and I'm not just saying this because you're a radiologist, but breast radiologists, they're just a different breed. And I have never met one that I just did not think, oh my gosh, this is that doctor's ministry, because it truly is a ministry. It, the way that the doctor comes in and touches the shoulder of a patient or, touches their hand and lets them know that they're going to take care of them. You just can't. That's just amazing to watch, and to watch you guys do your thing.
Oh, thank you. Definitely. But I mean, again, it's because of you all that, makes our job even better too. So thank you to you and the rest of our wonderful technologists. And then, so Gina, since, you had your breast cancer diagnosis many, many years ago, have you been doing okay since then?
Oh my gosh, so blessed. Yeah. So back, like I said, it'll be 33 years in March. And I do now, about 12 years ago, I was actually tested and I have the BRCA gene mutation, which back in 1989, there was nothing that hadn't even been discovered yet. So I did have the gene mutation, was kind of shocking because my mom was one of 9 girls. None of my female cousins, no one had ever had breast cancer. But if you track it back through my dad's side, 2 generations back, I had a great grandmother and a great aunt. That doesn't sound that close, which is kind of shocking that I did come up positive for that. So really blessed. That is a blessing. Knowledge is always a blessing. So I was able to go on and get another mastectomy. And then it also helped with because there's a correlation to breast cancer and ovarian cancer with the BRCA. I was able to my family was complete, so I could have a hysterectomy, get the ovaries out. The only negative of that is that both of my girls also are positive for the BRCA gene, but they're amazingly strong women. And I have a 33-year-old and a 29-year-old now who both have had bilateral prophylactic mastectomies. And that cut their odds with their cancer risk was about 89%. So that's cut that down to like less than 1%. So blessed. And then one day when they've had their children and their families are complete, then they can go on and have the hysterectomy, and then they won't have to worry about the ovarian part quite as much either.
Wow.
So blessed.
Yes.
Yeah.
You and your family are just seriously a family of strong women, inspirational, just wonderful, wonderful people, just inside and out for sure. So yeah, but
Awesome.
wonderful. Thank you so much again, Gina, for joining us today and taking time out of your schedule. It's just so great to see you again.
Oh, it's
You're a
good to
hero and
see you too.
angel on so many levels. So thank you so much again for joining us today. We really, really, really appreciate it.
Such an honor. Thank you so much.